Alrighty, good evening, everyone. This is Chief Forecaster Cameron, and
And Derek here once again, as we talked about, and we've been talking about for much of the week. We are getting ready for that latest episode of severe weather across the natural state. But first off, though, Cameron, let's talk about the lead up to this.
yeah,
Something that we've not had so far this year, and that is warm air ahead of a system.
definitely. So temperatures today, I know down there in South Arkansas, you guys were warm down there, almost 90 degrees, believe it or not, down there across in El Dorado today. You guys have cooled off significantly since then. But right now, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s, low 80s across the area. Things are going to kind of, I would say, cool down tonight. It's not going to be a big drop off because you're going to start getting your moisture in, stuff like that for our storm system that's going to come in tomorrow and into tomorrow night and Saturday here. And we've got a good amount to talk about here. We're going to talk about the severe weather threat. We're also going to talk about the wildfire threat because that's the thing that's being thrown under the rug right now. No one's really paying attention to it. That risk is about as significant as the severe weather threat as we move into tomorrow here. So let's take a look at current radar at this current time here, guys. And just a couple of things that you guys are seeing on the board. Number one, your moisture already beginning to move ahead of the storm system. This is a very powerful storm system coming our way over the next 24 to 48 hours here. It's going to bring 60 to 80 mile per hour wind out there in the west towards Texas, Oklahoma, and Kansas, and for our folks in western northwestern Arkansas. It's going to bring a regional multi-day tornado outbreak for our folks in eastern northeastern Arkansas, then down in southeastern Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama here. So a very just kind of a multi-faceted weather system coming our way as we move over the next 24 to 48 hours here. Go ahead.
So the biggest thing, with this set up again, there's going to be one caveat to it, and we're going to go over that in just a little bit, and that's going to be what's called the cap.
Yep.
And you're going to hear this word a lot throughout this stream, the word cap, and that is going to be something that we're going to have to watch tomorrow, because that will make or break this entire event. Cameron and I have chased a numerous amount of these planes type setups, and this is this is
100%.
exactly what you see out in Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas. Not so much here in Arkansas, because a true dry line setup in Arkansas is very rare.
Yeah.
But tomorrow is going to be one of those events that have a very high ceiling. But the question is going to be how many storms go up in this atmosphere tomorrow.
Yeah. So what we're going to do here, kind of talk about this just a little bit, then we're going to get to you guys' questions. If y'all can do me a favor and share this out on Facebook and YouTube. Tomorrow we're going to do some sort of post reach in the morning. That way everybody kind of knows that we're still here, because I know our presence is kind of down right now after what happened last month. So we're going to do a post reach in the morning. Make sure that everybody's here. If you're listening to this in the community, if you haven't followed our new page, please go do that, because there is going to be the potential that we could be covering some warnings tomorrow. And I'm also starting to get concerned about the potential of seeing some warnings down in southeastern Arkansas come Saturday morning here. So let's talk about the graphics here. Before we get into the severe weather part of this, I want to kind of briefly talk about the wildfire danger, because things are starting to dry out. And at a rapid pace, especially for our folks in northern and northwestern Arkansas. So behind this draw line that's coming in tomorrow, similar to what you would deal with out west, you have to make sure that you do not burn tomorrow. It is absolutely crucial that you do not burn tomorrow. I don't care how much rain you've had over the last month. Do not burn tomorrow, especially for our folks in western, northwestern Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas. Any family or friends out there, they are under an extreme risk for wildfires out there here. So I think SPC dubbed it a potential of a wildfire outbreak out there tomorrow, because of how extreme the conditions are going to be for wildfire potential. So do not burn tomorrow whatsoever. Don't even do it, because anything that sparks can instantly become a wildfire, and it could be a very big problem here. So please keep that in mind. I know our folks up there in northwestern Arkansas is under the red flag warning. That is for conditions. They only issue those for conditions that are going to be capable for rapid wildfires and stuff like that here. So please keep that in mind. I know it's the number one thing that gets ignored, but folks, you can't ignore it, because if one spark takes off, it's going to be a problem. I guarantee you it's going to be a problem here. So, Derek, we've gotten that out of the way. We've got natural state transparency in here. I see the comments coming in. Let's talk about tomorrow's severe weather threat here. And there's been some considerable changes over the last 12 hours here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So again, as we had talked about, one thing, and I've noticed a lot of people talking about, has been the shift east with this risk area from where it was, back a few days ago.
Yep.
And the biggest thing about that, has been the change in where your dry line is going to set up, as well as where the greatest potential is for severe weather. Now, as we mentioned, there is now a level 4 risk for our folks in Northeast Arkansas. Cameron and I have been talking about this, over the last couple of days, and we feel like that might actually move a little bit further south.
Yeah. I can see
And
it.
we would not be shocked because latest guidance coming in is starting to increase the thunderstorm coverage zone. We may see that area expand a little bit further southwest into places like Jonesboro, Wynn, Blytheville, West Memphis. But regardless, so this is the area that we expect to see, severe weather anywhere in that level 3 and level 4 risk. It's a hatched area as well for significant severe weather. We are talking about the threat of tornadoes and large hail.
Yeah.
Your damaging wind risk is going to be in the far northeast corner, but I feel like the damaging wind risk is going to be greater up towards Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, places like that, where you're going to be dealing with more of a skull line setup. Down here, we are going to be dealing with that tornado threat and hail threat. Now, level 1 and level 2 risks. Cameron, this is where there's more questions than answers when it comes to our dry line and how much capping is going to be in place.
So this is kind of a really good kind of discussion, especially for those that have chased before. If you've ever been out in Oklahoma, Texas, Kansas in mid to late May, and you get one of these dry line setups that doesn't look impressive on data until the day of, and then storms start popping off at random, this is how tomorrow's going to be. Tomorrow is literally going to be a dry line setup here in Arkansas where we have no idea where storms are going to fire. When they fire, they're going to instantly go severe. Your environment is, and I'm going to stress this to the moon, your environment is very capable of significant severe weather. If we, and also Storm Prediction Center, knew where the storms were going to be and the coverage, I can guarantee you that level 4 would have been a lot more expansive than it is right now. So right now, what we're trying to figure out here is when the storm's going to develop. Not every single person is going to see severe weather tomorrow. Not every single person is going to see storms tomorrow. These are going to be what we call hit and miss type storms. That means somebody's going to have a really rough day tomorrow with storms, and that means somebody's going to see a sunny, clear day with nothing going on. That's how your setup is going to be tomorrow, and trying to figure out where those storms are going to be, how strong they're going to be, and stuff like that is questions not only us here have, but all the meteorologists across Arkansas have right now. SBC, Storm Prediction Center, has the same questions. Where are those storms going to develop tomorrow? And when they develop, I guarantee you they're going to instantly go severe, and those are going to be the ones that you're going to have to watch for that tornado threat. I honestly feel like, Derek, your tornado threat is sitting at number 1 right now with this setup, and then you're going to have your hail threat. I think your damaging wind threat is greatest to the north, because what's going to happen is your low is going to pivot out, and you're going to have pretty much like an arc. So I think your damaging wind threat is greater up there in Missouri, Illinois, stuff like that. But I think down here, with everything being so isolated, I think that tornado threat and that hail threat is going to be your primary threats down here, with that attendant damaging wind threat as we move into tomorrow here. So
tomorrow's going to be one of those events where you're going to watch storms pop up along that level 1 risk.
Yep.
And again, you may not have a lot of storms. Again, 1 or 2 cells. If you were around March 31st. All you had was 1 or 2 cells pop up.
Yeah.
That 1 or 2 cells produced tornadoes in Little Rock and Wynn.
Now, I want to make a disclaimer real quick. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
Somebody's going to hear that. I want to stress right now, it is not March 31st 2.0.
No. But, for comparison, sometimes all it takes is 1 or 2 storms.
Yep.
To produce that type of event.
Yep.
And so again, with that, we are watching for what is called that significant tornado risk.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a significant tornado is defined as an EF2 or greater.
Yep.
And also long track and long lived. Now, your setup is much more favorable, obviously in the eastern half of the state,
Yep.
where your greatest ingredients are going to overlap. Your shear, your instability, your moisture, and then of course, obviously where the cap is expected to be much weaker compared to the rest of the state.
Yep. So I want to, because I'm seeing the comments coming in right now, especially for Central Arkansas, stuff like that. I want to stress this right now, and it's not us being mean or vindictive or anything like that. Folks, we have literally no idea where these storms are going to pop off tomorrow. We don't have a magic 8-ball in here saying, hey, this is where you're going to get. These storms are going to develop in isolated nature. That's how it's going to be tomorrow. We've had situations out there in Oklahoma, Texas, same thing. With these dry line setups, we don't know where exactly these storms are going to fire. You have a generalized area of concern, which we'll talk about coming up in a little bit, about that tornado threat and the hail threat. But in terms of storms, not every single person in Arkansas, all 75 counties, is going to see storms tomorrow. That's how it's going to be. But what we need you guys to do is just keep that awareness up. Like, hey, a storm fires where I'm at, warning goes out, you know what to do, okay? But this is not going to be all 75 counties is going to get storms tomorrow. That's not how it's going to be. It's going to be isolated, hit and miss nature. And we have, like I said, you can look at data all day long, and it's not going to tell you where these storms are going to fire tomorrow. But what we can do here is say, hey, there's a risk. There's your environment. Your environment, whatever storms develop tomorrow, your environment is going to be capable of producing these hazards. You need to stay aware just to be on the safe side. Like I said, there's going to be folks tomorrow, you may not even see any rain. You may just see sunshine and a couple of clouds and a wind shift with the dry line, and then that's it. That's how it's going to be tomorrow. And then there's going to be some folks that have thunderstorms and that has to deal with a tornado warning, has to deal with a severe thunderstorm warning, stuff like that. It's going to be hit and miss tomorrow. That's the kind of setup. And those types of setups, whoever sees those storms is going to have a bad day tomorrow. That's just how it's going to be.
And one key thing I want to mention about this, Cameron, is the fact, what you said, sunshine.
Yeah.
We're going to have sunshine. Normally in Arkansas, you get these setups where it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's cool. You're not going to have that tomorrow. It is going to be warm. It's going to be in the 70s, 80s tomorrow. It's going to be more humid tomorrow than what it's been over the past couple of days.
Yep.
The question is going to be is how humid does it get?
Yep.
With the lack of severe weather last night, the trend has been to see a little bit more moisture coming in than what was originally anticipated, especially from Mountain Home to Little Rock to El Dorado point east.
Yep.
Hence, where your level 1 or your level 2, 3, and 4 risks is because of your greater moisture content. Now, as I've mentioned time and time again, there's a thing called that cap. And again, I'm going to mention this time and time again because this is going to be your fail-safe mode.
Yep.
And I know the National Weather Service in Little Rock is putting up a balloon tomorrow around lunch to see how strong that cap is. It's a layer of warm air aloft. Storms don't like trying to fight warm air. They need cold air aloft to get going. Well, if you have a very strong lid on the atmosphere, that is going to prevent those storms from getting into the necessary ingredients to start forming.
So, like I said before, the biggest thing tomorrow here is, because we can go ahead and kind of answer a few questions here and there here, because we've pretty much kind of laid out what tomorrow is going to be. It's going to be hit and miss. You're going to have all your hazards there tomorrow. The potential of the tornado threat, the hail threat, the damaging wind threat, which, like I said, I think the damaging wind threat is greater to the north and east.
Let's go to the tornado risk.
Okay. I got it. I get it pulled up here. There we go.
Yeah. So I'm saying a lot of people are saying, well, the greatest tornado risk is going to be in northeast Arkansas. It's not going to, nothing to worry about. So tomorrow is one of those days.
I don't know how to stress this as clear as possible, folks. And like I said, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink it. I'm telling you guys this right now. You got to have your awareness up tomorrow. This is not an environment to play around with. This happens all the time when we have severe weather and it busts. The next event, you're like, hey, the last one didn't do it. What's the difference between these two? This environment tomorrow, and I'm stressing this, will be capable of producing significant severe weather. The only reason Arkansas is not at a bigger risk than it is right now is because of storm coverage and where those storms are going to fire. That's the only reason why Arkansas is not in a bigger threat tomorrow. The environment will be capable of producing significant severe weather. The question is, where do storms fire who gets to see the storms, and then how quickly does things move out. That's your question tomorrow. Other than that, you've got the instability, you've got the wind shear, you've got the moisture, everything's in place. The only thing we're trying to figure out is trying to figure out where the storms are going to fire tomorrow. So you've got to stay weather aware. This is not us being mean. It's just if you end up in a storm tomorrow, you're going to notice it. That's how it's going to be tomorrow. We both here, we hope we get through tomorrow without having nothing happening. And that happens sometimes where you'll have these systems that nothing gets going, nothing pops off, and it's a good day. But then, with our Chase experience, we've both been on Chasecation multiple years where we've seen these dry line setups. They pop off. Model Data does a horrible job with it. And then we end up dealing with a pretty decent event. So please stay weather aware tomorrow, guys. We're just urging that at this point.
In the words of the National Weather Service in Little Rock, tomorrow is a powder cake.
Yeah.
And all it's going to take is one storm to get going.
Yep.
And this is one thing that if you ask any meteorologist, any forecaster, any weather enthusiast, all it takes is one storm to be a bad day.
Yep.
Mayflower was if you define the overall coverage area, it was a bust. But to those folks in Bologna and Mayflower and Ferndale, it was not a bust.
Exactly.
It was that one storm that produced a tornado.
Yep.
So all it takes is one to be a bad day.
Yep. Exactly. So what we're going to do here, like I said before, we're going to kind of answer questions. I think we've pretty much gone over everything. Kind of answer some questions. We're going to look at some model data. I do want to talk about, because I know there's a significant tornado map going around on social media right now. I want to talk about what that means as well. So give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull up a couple of comments here. I love this comment from Mark. I have learned to trust no storm. Mark, if I can put that up on a billboard, I do it immediately. Because every single severe weather event is a footprint of every time they're different. Some of them are going to bust. Some of them are going to be remarkable. This one, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in terms of the storm coverage, who's going to see what. All we can tell you is say, hey, you got these ingredients set up in place. Do these ingredients come together tomorrow? That's what we can tell you. And say, hey, there's your environment. You got to say weather aware, and then go from there. That's all we can do for tomorrow here. We can't sit here and be like, hey, this area is going to see a storm, and then this area is going to see it. We won't know until probably, I'd say, maybe lunch tomorrow? Even then, because we'll be watching radar, and radar is going to be completely different from what model data is trying to pinpoint at this point here. So, go ahead.
Jamie actually had a very good question. One of our chasers had a very good question. Is it going to be like a tropical storm type? Where the storms go up, boom. Or is it going to be kind of a delayed?
So it's going to be a setup where, and this is, like I said, this kind of reminds you of what you would see out in Texas and Oklahoma, where you'll get a storm that will develop, and you will know instantly if that storm is going to punch through the cap or not. Because you're going to have storms tomorrow, kind of like what the Euro's trying to throw out right now, where they will try to bust through the cap. They're going to try, and then they're going to fall apart. You will know instantly when a storm breaks through that cap. You're going to know it instantly because it's going to get tall. You're going to see it, and then it's going to instantly go severe warning. And I will say, if there were to be a time frame to watch for a tornado threat, would probably be from about 6 p.m. tomorrow to about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning.
Yep.
Because once your environment starts cooling off, you start getting your low level jet in. That's wherever storms are by that time. Is where I think that tornado threat is going to be maximized. I think during the day tomorrow, you're going to have storms that are going to try to get going, try to punch through the cap. They're going to fail. Every time, and I'll tell you this, every time a storm does that, it weakens the cap more and more and more and more until the cap erodes. And when that happens, that's where you get free reign with all these storms popping up. So that's why we're saying tomorrow, just keep weather aware. I think that's if too long didn't read kind of message, it's tomorrow stay weather aware at this point here. So let me see here. Yeah, so I noticed tomorrow your map is from 6 p.m. to 3 o'clock in the morning. Will there be any daytime storms? Yeah, Jessica, but I think those storms are going to run into that cap and then they're going to fall apart. So I wish I had a bottle or something that I could explain what a cap means. So basically, if you have a, all right, let's take this for example. Okay, I love this, by the way. Shout out to the Arkansas Razorbacks. Anyways, so basically, let's say you have a a beverage or something in here. Okay, and then you have a lid. Well, that lid is going to protect anything from coming out of the cup, correct? Well, let's say the lid gets taken off. Then everything in this cup spills out. That's kind of how the atmosphere works. Once that lid is removed, your parcels move up into the atmosphere. That's what generates the thunderstorms. And then with the environment already favorable for it, they'll pop. They'll go severe. They'll be capable of producing tornadoes and stuff like that here. So that's what it means. I think I saw a comment like, "What does the cap mean?" That's pretty much what it means. I hope I was able to make that. Yeah.
Basically, can they go through the cap? Do they stay?
Yeah.
Or do they go?
Yep.
That's going to be the biggest spread. Storm goes up, storm dies.
Yep.
Storm breaks it, and then the rest is basically, and all it's going to take is one or two.
Yep.
Now, that being said, guidance has come back with
this is what I'm worried about.
With less of a cap tomorrow.
Yep.
And more severe weather coverage. Now, cameras what's showing called lightning flash density.
Yep.
So this is not indicating of in line of storm. What this is showing is, if you notice the individual tracks of each lightning density forecast. This is over, if I remember right, the past 3 or 4 hours.
3 hours. Yeah.
3 hours.
I can actually make an instant if we need to. This is kind of like an hour by hour deal, which kind of shows what we mean with those isolated cells. Go ahead.
Yeah. But so what this is showing is tracks, your supercell tracks. Now, this is what we mean by, hey, guess what? If the cap breaks along the dry line, and Cameron and I've seen this time and time again, where you get like to basically 3 to 4 hours ahead of the event, your short-range guide starts finally picking up on the cap's going to break.
Yep.
And then you have storms pop up along the dry line.
Yep.
This is what we're watching for tomorrow. Because if this model's right, there's other models that say nothing forms. But basic meteorology says you're going to have at least two or three storms go up to tomorrow, just because of the environment we are in.
Yep.
If this happens like this, there will be a tornado outbreak tomorrow. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And that's what concerns me, is that yes, these storms are going to be isolated in nature, but when they go, when they fire, who is under the gun at that point? And that's where you have to pay attention to the environment. And back to what you were saying with the dry line, there's been so many, events where, we'll have, chasers that will go out west and they won't play the dry line because they're like, all right, the dry line's not going to do anything because model guidance is saying this.
Yep.
Then you get to the day of, and then you're like, okay, well, we got storms now firing off on the dry line. That's just how it is. Kind of like I guess you can call it like a Twister reference. Like we got storms firing on the dry line. Yeah, that's kind of how tomorrow's going to be. And that's why not only that, but the wildfire danger is going to be there as well for our folks in northwestern Arkansas, because behind this dry line, you're going to have 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts, if not higher, out there in western and northwestern Arkansas here. So
that's another thing about tomorrow. Cam, you're going to have, if a storm drops a tornado, I'm not saying they are, but any storm that goes up will have that chance. They're moving 50 to 60 miles per hour.
Yeah,
their storms are going to be
gone. They're not going to waste any time more.
We are going to be giving, any warning that goes out, we're going to be giving an hour heads up notice downstream.
Yeah.
Because that is how fast these are going to be moving.
So let me try to kind of recollect ourselves here. So for folks that are coming in, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take off this model data for just a little bit, and I'm going to kind of speed blitz this all the way to the timing. I thought I had timing on here. Apparently I don't. So give me just a second here, and I'll get that timing map up, because we do have a timing map to talk about as we move into tomorrow here. So give me 1 second. Should be coming up here just shortly. There we go. All right, so this is the timing for tomorrow. I'm gonna leave this up because I think this is gonna answer a lot of questions for tomorrow. You're gonna have your level, your area of 1, and then you're gonna have your 2 over there in eastern Arkansas. This is what we call hit and miss thunderstorms. Like I'm stressing right now, folks, this is not going to be a widespread deal. There's going to be folks that are not going to see severe weather tomorrow. I don't want to hear anyone tomorrow complaining about not seeing severe weather, because the environment will be capable of significant severe weather. But that doesn't guarantee that every person in Arkansas is going to see it. It's going to be hit and miss. So what we can do is say, hey, this is the time to pay attention. Because when a storm pops up, we don't know if it's going to be Mount Home. We don't know if it's going to be Clinton. We don't know if it's going to be Little Rock, Arkadelphia, Sheridan, Hot Springs, Russellville. We don't know where these storms are going to pop tomorrow. But when they do pop and they break through the cap, that's where you're going to have that potential. And to answer your question, by the way, no, you do not want any sun tomorrow. Unfortunately, we can't. We're not. You're not going to get away with not having sun tomorrow, because we have a ton of dry air in place right now.
So another thing, to keep in mind, Cameron, with this is last night's event is a prime example.
Right.
It was 400 miles south of where it was forecast.
Mm-hmm.
We had one storm go up in Arkansas that tracked through Saline County, Glass County, Lono County, and into northeast Arkansas.
Yeah.
Then eventually we had a few more pop, but that one storm eroded last night's cap. One storm eroded it, then you had two, then you had three, and that's how that works. You have one. Last night's a prime example of a very strong cap.
Yep.
Tomorrow's cap is going to be weaker than last night's. So that being said, that's something we're going to have to watch again. If the cap holds, we don't have a thing to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? There's no severe weather.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't want severe weather, especially in the South, because you know how this works in the South. You get that
one, and it's, yeah.
One thing to keep in mind, it is March 13th. We have April, we have May, and we have June still to go.
Yep.
In the spring. So, again, for those who are griping that the forecast was wrong, I will gladly say, hey, our forecast was wrong, because, I don't want severe weather simply because it does affect lives and property.
Yep.
Cameron and I both were on the ground at Rolling Fork, Mississippi. We were there.
I do not want to see that in Arkansas.
And we never want to see that again anywhere.
Anywhere.
But especially in the state that we grew up in, that we cover on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
We go there, and to anybody, I will say this, to anybody who gripes about a forecast bust, you can get off our page and go somewhere else, because we saw firsthand what it does.
Yep.
And until you have pulled a child's body out of the rubble, you will never understand what it's like to see a tornado firsthand.
Yep. And I hate that you had to make that comment, man, but it's like, that's just how it is. And here's the deal about tomorrow, too. I want to come here tomorrow night and tell y'all, hey, there's nothing going on, and that's it. I mean, that's what we want to do. I am starting to see a couple of things that are a little concerning. I'm going to leave this timing map up, because I think this timing is going to kind of get people aware about what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm starting to notice with the short range data that it is trying to initiate along the dry line now. This is about noon tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Obviously, these over here in western Arkansas are going to fail, because they're going to run into the cap. But I am starting to notice that. I am starting to notice that short range data is trying to get some sort of initiation going tomorrow here. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well here. But yeah, a couple of things like so forth. Yeah, I love this comment from Jeffrey. I hope it pulls out. The wind tornado was terrible. I watched it come down and turn towards the wind area. And like I said, folks, we don't like talking about that. We don't. But this is just how severe weather works in the South. When somebody gets hit, it's bad. It's bad here. We want to sit here. We don't want to sit here and be like, hey, we got damage everywhere and life-threatening this and red all over the map. Yep. We want to sit here and tell you guys, hey, there's nothing to worry about. Yes, it's warm, but you don't have to worry about, is your house going to be gone the next day or something like that. We don't want to sit here and talk about that, but that's just reality. Like, we have to sit here and tell you guys, like, hey, this is what happened down here. And I'll be real with you guys. As bad as the situation may end up for our folks in northeastern Arkansas, there's even a worse threat for our folks in Mississippi and Alabama on Saturday, where SPC is already talking about potential going hybrids down there. So that's just how it is. I mean, I hate talking about severe weather, but that's part of living in the South. So yeah, Jeff, and Jeffrey, he, made a great comment about that. Yeah, even if it's a bust, it is what it is. but I'd rather be safe than sorry here. And I'll kind of throw you back to March 31st too. March 31st, similar setup. You had the environment ready to go.
Yep.
Everything was in place. You were just waiting to see, if the cap was going to break. And that day, you had 2 storms go up. The Little Rock wind tornado. Remind me what the other one was. I know it was in southeastern
Arkansas, kind of along there, along the down there in the Shea County,
correct,
places like that. Because you had storms form what was expected to form from central to northeast Arkansas.
Yep.
Had formed basically south of Jonesboro, down through wind, down through the Shea County, and into southeast Arkansas.
Yep.
Hence why, again, there's a risk area, not a risk, just and very similar.
Yep.
To the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to see storms are going to be isolated, but those isolated storms could be, you're going to have, let's say, almost 50 to 100 miles in between each storm.
Yep.
It's going to be one of those oddball days,
Yep.
but it's going to be one of those days where you're going to have to be on your toes all day long.
Yep.
Simply being for this potentially, especially, I would say, I know our main time frame right now is really from that 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. time frame. But I would say anywhere from about probably 3 p.m.
Yeah, that's what that's what we have on the graphic. I got the early
3
start.
p.m. all the way to 3 a.m. a 12-hour window. Now, that being said, for our folks in southeast Arkansas, we could be dealing with morning severe weather Saturday morning as well.
Yep.
And then again, potentially, early afternoon as well as Saturday afternoon. This is just one of those events that is going to have a long-lasting impact.
Yeah, and you're dealing with this system. You're dealing with 2 pieces of energy. One that's coming through, that's going to bring the severe threat tomorrow night, and then you have your main one that's going to come in as you move into Saturday, which is going to bring that regional, I dare say, widespread tornado outbreak for our folks in southeast Arkansas, Louisiana, over to Mississippi and over to Alabama here. So, really good question here from Western Arkansas. You guys, over there in Fort Smith, I think you're going to be good. I don't think you're going to see any storms tomorrow. The one thing I am worried about out there for you guys is going to be the fire danger. Wind gusts are really going to pick up behind the dry line. You're going to have a lot of dry air. Your relative humidity is going to be pretty low. So that's what I'm worried about for you guys out there. But in terms of severe weather, because technically fire weather is severe weather, and in terms of severe thunderstorms, I don't think you're going to see anything tomorrow. Matter of fact, I'd be really shocked if you even see rain tomorrow. I think tomorrow is just going to be a couple of clouds here and there, wind shift with the dry line, and then that's it. So my folks over here in Western Arkansas, you can kind of, anyone that's not in this timing map can kind of, let their guard down, let their hair down a little bit. But I say from Harrison, Hot Springs, Magnolia, east, that awareness needs to be up tomorrow because we don't know where these storms are going to fire us moving into tomorrow here. Go ahead.
Now, something about it, if you live in the all-clear zone, it'd be a really neat day to go outside and watch the top of the storm.
Yep.
Because tomorrow is going to be one of those days. If you have a clear view to the east, you'll be able to see the top of storms that are over 100 miles away from us. We've done this in the past too, where we've sat behind a dry line and just kind of let it form, and then see a heck of a light show behind it.
Yep, that's gonna be pretty cool, especially folks that live in the higher elevations. The Ouachitas, the Ozarks, stuff like that, you'll be able to see those storms. And you'll see it too. You'll see those storms, especially ones initially, probably about noon, 1 o'clock tomorrow, that will try to bust through the cap, but they can't do it. And they'll just kind of give you those whispery type clouds because obviously they couldn't push through the cap. So that'd be something pretty cool for our folks in West Arkansas. But other than that, make sure you're paying attention to the fire danger out there because behind the dry line, it's going to feel really, really dry. Lots of wind and stuff like that here. But in terms of severe storms, I think you're going to be good to go for anyone that's behind this initial line that's from Magnolia, Arkadelphia, Hot Springs, up to Jasper over here in Western Arkansas here. So rainfall amounts are going to be, quarter to a half an inch, maybe even, it's going to be tough to even get that. Not going to be a big time flooding or rainfall event for us here in Arkansas. So I came in late. How has the level 4 moved further south or it stayed put? It stayed where it is, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not a betting man, but I want to say it's gonna be probably somewhere in here where I think your level 4 is gonna eventually end up. Now keep in mind, let's say storms pop off out here, there's no cap. Well, then your level 4 gets suspended further south.
Yep.
So you have to pay attention. It's just like playing football. You know, you got to recognize the play, what they're going to do, and then predict what happens after that. That's kind of how it is here. You have to see what your environment is, forecast off of that environment, and be like, hey, where does these storms fire? If they fire, you know, what hazards are going to carry, and they're going to carry an all hazards threat as we move into tomorrow here, guys. So give me a second here. I'm going to go back over to here. And also, one more thing, too. I appreciate y'all for asking questions. You know, there's not a dumb question out there, I promise you, when it comes to severe weather. I'd rather for you guys to ask all the questions. We both here have a ton of experience. We can sit here and answer those questions, get you more prepared. We want you guys to be prepared when it comes to severe weather here. So always feel free to ask questions. We'll try to get to as many as possible here. What you're seeing over there? What you got?
Yep. So I'm just kind of monitoring, you know, all of our comments, questions. You know, also we are live on TikTok as well.
Yeah.
You know, for those of you who have an issue on Facebook, because you never know when that's going to occur now. But
are they having issues on Facebook?
No. But
Okay.
just saying. But
Okay.
you know, just saying whenever. So again, just kind of going over everything, just kind of seeing, you know, biggest thing is that, you know, one thing I want to mention is we're getting a lot of questions of will a tornado move through my town? Folks, there is no way to know that.
We don't even know where storms are going to fire tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let alone if they're going to carry a tornado. You know, that's something we can't predict. We can't. We can tell you that there's a risk. It's kind of like an insurance company. You know, they'll tell you like, hey, there's a risk of this happening and stuff like that. But no, folks, we will never be able to. And I don't think there's anybody out there that could tell you where a tornado is going to hit right at this exact time, right at the exact second. It can't happen. Like I said, we're having a hard time depicting where the storms are actually going to fire tomorrow.
Yep.
With this setup here.
So I'll put it like this. So this is the easiest way to explain this.
Yep.
Tomorrow's ceiling is multiple storms across the region with a tornado threat.
Yep.
The floor is no storms at all.
Yep.
It's literally boom or bust. There is no middle here.
That's how it is.
There is literally, with this event, your atmosphere is perfectly conducive for severe weather.
Yep.
The only question right now is going to be, will it be 1 or 2? Will it be 0? Or will we have a dry line full of storms from the northern border to the southern border?
Yep. And I'm gonna address the comment from Morris here. So I'll give you a little bit of tip about the HR, and coming from both of us chasing out west, don't trust it. Don't trust it. You might as well just throw it away, because it's gonna change on you. We'll wake up first thing tomorrow morning and it'll go from 0 to 100 on you within a heartbeat, because it's a model at the end of the day. So our timing map is not based off of model data. I'd be honest with you, when we made this timing map, we didn't even look at a shredded data. I'll just be honest with you. We went off of when is the dry line going to move into Arkansas and when is the time to pay attention. That's it. We didn't look at the HR. We didn't look at GFS. We didn't look at the Euro. We didn't look at any model data. We just went with, hey, this is when the dry line's going to move in. This is the time frame of if storms are going to fire. This is when it's going to happen. That's all we did. So, like I said, just the HR, use it very, very, very lightly. I'm stressing that, because it's going to change on you from right now to what you're going to see by this time tomorrow here. And like I said before, you know, this may be a situation where Arkansas doesn't see any storms at all, and that's perfectly fine. I would love something like that, because in an environment like this, as a matter of fact, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna switch over to DNAM, and I know this is gonna terrify a lot of people here, and this is something that I'm gonna explain.
I was gonna actually bring this up.
Yeah.
So you guys have a question about that?
Okay.
Can you explain that graphic?
I can.
From Sierra.
So
you see Sierra's question.
let me see
right there.
Right here. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna explain this. So for folks that are gonna listen, they're gonna look at this real quick. I need you to stop, take a deep breath, and hear me out, because you're gonna see this and you're gonna panic. That's how it is. Okay. Once again, I need you to stop what you're doing, take a deep breath, and hear me out on this, okay? This does not mean that Arkansas is going to have a catastrophic tornado outbreak tomorrow. I want to make this crystal clear. This is why we don't share these maps unless I absolutely have to. So what you're looking at here is like what Derek just said. That is your ceiling. This is your environment tomorrow. This is why we're live. This is why we're telling y'all to pay attention to these storms tomorrow. This does not mean that every single person in this area is going to see severe weather or tornadoes tomorrow. Okay, I know this graphic. You post it on social media. It goes viral. It's for clicks and shares, stuff like that. That's, we don't do that here. We don't. We use science. We use our experience. We tell you guys what's going to happen here with no sugarcoating or anything like that. It's the reason why you have not seen us post this graphic, because it's going to scare a lot of people. That's how it is. I'll be honest with you. I looked at this and I was like, man, good Lord, what's getting ready to happen here? But you have to take in effect that this is looking at your environment tomorrow. So this is a really good comment here. That you're really good question. I'm glad you brought this up, because people are going to see this, and I want you guys to do me a favor too. When y'all see this, personally tell them that I said that this is not going to be a massive, everybody's going to see tornadoes tomorrow. This is just your environment. This is just how your environment's going to be tomorrow. Storms, fire in this environment, obviously, you carry that tornado threat, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But, you can be where in southern Missouri, where you're at that 10, and you may not see a drop of rain. That's how it is. But your environment is definitely there tomorrow. And will carry that significant tornado potential, the hail potential, and the damaging wind potential. I think your damaging wind potential is going to be greater up there in the Midwest here. I just don't see it.
And that's another
I just don't see it here in Arkansas.
This particular graphic shows the shear.
Correct.
So in Missouri, it's depicting that wind energy.
Yep.
It is showing that wind energy.
Yep.
You move further south, and you can see the individual tracks.
Yep.
And that's showing is where storms could form.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow's going to be a day where you're going to be watching for those east movers.
Yep.
If you get those east movers,
those are going to be your SIG-TOR. Yep.
I.e., what happened to Lynn, where the storm was moving northeast out of the metro and then it turned due east.
Yep.
Those are the type of storms you're going to have to watch for tomorrow.
Yep.
Now, that being said, that does not mean that everybody's going to see severe weather. What this means is that the ceiling is there.
Yep.
And like we said, the floor is what West Arkansas is going to see. Wind and sunshine. That's it. So that is literally all it's going to be. So Andy Counts had another good.
Yeah, I got his comment, but I was waiting for you to finish up where I got to it. So basically, what he's talking about here, sin, which is pretty much, I'll put this in layman's terms, it's the lid that goes on top of this cup. That's pretty much what it is. In layman's terms, that's how it is. So could that erode prematurely? I have seen setups like that before. He's seen setups like that before. We've both chased, in 21. It was, what was it? Frankie, if you're watching this, we love you, brother. So it was Kansas. It was in northwestern Kansas in Wyoming. McCook.
Yeah, where the waterfront.
Yeah. So basically what happened was the cap eroded, supercells popped off, and then everybody south of there in the dry line just didn't see anything. So that can happen. And that's why we're telling you guys, if you're in this timing map, that's the time to pay attention. That can happen. There could be a situation where the cap is stronger than expected and you don't see anything at all. That's something that you can't forecast until you're right there. You're in the event. But what we can do is give you a warning, say, hey, your environment's capable of doing this. If storms fire, if they don't, that's how it is. It's boom or bust tomorrow. That's just that's all we can tell you. I wish we could tell you more about, when you're gonna see storms and what second and what minute, stuff like that. I wish we could. We can't. The biggest thing is tomorrow is if storms get going, if they even fire tomorrow, they're gonna be problematic. That's just how it is. So let me see here. I have this one here from Tori, and I wanna bring down the anxiety with this too. March 31st, April 27th, 2011. There's another event I'm missing off the top of my head. Those events have their own, what we call bookmarks. Basically, they have their own, their prints of what they've done. March 31st is different from April 27th, while April 27th is different from another event. Not every single event is going to be what we had March 31st. And I know it changed a lot of lives and it made people wake up to severe weather. I know it did. But this is not going to be a March 31st 2.0. It's not even going to be an April 27th 2.0. Every event is different in their own nature. That's how it is. That's how weather works. It's the same way with winter weather. Every winter weather event, every ice event, every snow event, etc., is different in their own nature. You can't compare one event to another unless you're trying to see how the pattern was, if that makes sense. Kind of see how the storm system was, what was your environment. You can use it to kind of help you better forecast the upcoming event, but it's not going to be the exact same. That's how it is. I hope that answered your question. I hope that answered a lot of people's question as well. Here,
I mean, Cameron, because a lot of people, in Arkansas, when they think of your tornado events, they think of time frames like March of '97, January 99, April of 2011, April, of 2014. They think of the higher end events, and likely so. That's where you need to be looking towards. Is because again, it brings your awareness up. But the thing is, though, we live in the South. We live in Arkansas. We are accustomed to seeing severe weather. We're accustomed to seeing tornadoes. It is something we deal with every single year.
Yep.
Some years are worse than others. Last year we had the most tornadoes that we've had, I want to say, since 2014.
I think you were even higher than you were in 2014. I think you were compared to.
Go through those periods.
Yeah.
And if you've seen our spring outlook, we predicted that this is going to be one of those years. One of those springs.
Mm-hmm.
And but all we can do is be prepared and keep you prepared and ahead of the storm.
Yep.
Which is what we've been doing, for the last 10 years.
Yep. So Summer brought up a really good question. The wildfire danger tomorrow. I think it's going to be, I would say, tomorrow afternoon-ish. Actually, take that back. I think it's going to be mainly late tomorrow morning, whenever the dry line moves into Arkansas. So we'll call it late tomorrow morning, throughout much of tomorrow night and into definitely your Saturday. Hopefully we start mixing out the environment and we start reducing that wildfire danger later in the weekend. But definitely, I'd say it's late tomorrow morning throughout tomorrow night when your wind gusts are really going to be up there. That's where you're going to have to watch for that, not the tornado threat, the wildfire danger threat out west. Let me see here. Yes, I'm glad you said what you said, Cameron. And like I said, for folks, if y'all see that, do me a favor and just, tell folks what I just told you. It's not, hey, somebody in Southeast Missouri is going to get, catastrophic tornadoes. People share that stuff for likes and shares. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Because it's not, it doesn't even tell you the tornado count. It just tells you like, hey, this is where your parameter is going to be. This is where you're going to have your best shot of seeing it, but it's not a guarantee. So, I hope I was able to explain that very clearly for folks that, that see that. And, I hate how some people are where they post graphics like that, drives people anxiety up and stuff like that, where it doesn't need to do all that. You can talk about severe weather and severe weather preparedness without having to scare people half to death here. So I'm really, 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 really glad that I was able to help you guys out with that here. So Skylar's got a great question. If we don't get storms, just saying if we don't get them, we'll be clear on Saturday. We'll be getting on Saturday. We'll be in clear. So this is going to be in two parts. I'm going to let you go ahead.
So this system is unique in its own way.
Yep.
So you're gonna have so the dry line, and this is kind of a dual thing because Jamie had a good point explaining the dry line setups. So this is kind of a kind of takes care of 2 in 1 here.
Yep.
So dry line says what they do. Dry lines push east ahead of cold front.
Yep.
Behind it is very dry air. Ahead of it, very moist air. And so what happens is that they move east, severe weather forms, they retract during the late night hours.
They are a pain to forecast.
And then what happens is the next day as the cold front gets closer or a trough is moving through, they move east again. Out in Oklahoma and Texas and Kansas, they move back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if you have a swirl line, it pushes it east. If you have a cold front, it mixes it out. And there's a lot of different meteorology to it. But in layman's term, what's going to happen with this event, your dry line is going to move east. Storm's going to fire off of it. That dry line is going to keep moving east. It's going to stall out eventually. Once those storms form, it is going to stall out.
Yep.
And then it's going to retract west a little bit. How far west that retracts
will determine
Saturday's
strength. Yeah.
Because ahead of that dry line is going to be 60-degree dew points plenty of instability, plenty of shear still, etc. Hence why you have the enhanced risk in Chico County. Hence why you have the slight risk along the Mississippi River. Because Saturday morning, it could be a situation where we are covering tornado warnings on Saturday morning at sunrise.
Yeah.
It's just one of those weird situations where everything is going to be determined on that dry line. How far east it moves, how far west it moves. It's unique for me because forecasting these type of environments
in Arkansas
is rare.
Yep.
But from a meteorology nerd like me, it's now I wouldn't say fun because I don't want to say severe weather, but it tests your mind because this is something you don't forecast often in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm. So I'll kind of draw this out a little bit too here, guys. So your cold front would be probably somewhere back in here because you can see it. There's your 20-degree dews. You actually get a little bit more moisture behind the cold front, obviously, because you have cold air, stuff like that, etc. But basically, your main system's up here, but you'll have what's called your dry air moving in. And what happens with these setups is behind that dry line, you always tell when a dry line pushes through because your winds will not shift from the north. They go west, or even in some cases, southwest. So you have southwest wind, and then ahead of it, you've got southerly to even in some cases southeasterly winds. This is why dry lines always are notorious for tornado threats. This is why I was telling you guys earlier, and Derek too. That's why I was challenging the damaging wind threat here in Arkansas because dry lines occasionally do produce damaging wind gusts, but you would like to be closer to the main low to get a really solid damaging wind threat. Dry lines are notorious for supercells that are isolated in nature, and they always carry some sort of tornado threat here. So I know there's a lot of meteorological terms that's being thrown out. We're trying to make this as simple as possible for everybody to understand, but this is not a simple system. This is two pieces of energy that are separated, and you're trying to forecast tomorrow's threat, and then you're trying to get that out of the way, and then you got Saturday coming in. And I'm starting to get a little worried about Saturday because with dry line setups, this ain't a cold front pushing in. This is dry lines. So dry lines are going to, like Derek said, it's going to wobble between, is it going to push east? Is it going to push west? When is your trough jet down? All these questions that are mounting up. My money is going to be, and I think we'll probably see this at some point tomorrow. We'll probably be too busy to kind of even talk about it. But I think what's going to end up happening on Saturday, Memphis, Eldo, this general area right in here, I'm keeping an eye on very, very closely because if this thing continues to push west, you're going to start introducing Arkansas to a severe threat on Saturday. That's what's going to happen.
So there's something unique about this setup.
Yeah.
Is that the system moving through tomorrow could lay out a little ridge.
Yep.
In between the wind coming in from the southwest Saturday.
Yep. And that's what explains the westerly trend.
Yep. And then that could actually stall our dry line. So again,
there's a lot of meteorological terms with this.
But again, there's a lot to it.
Yeah.
So again, that's something else we're going to watch. There's a lot of different moving, as you can see, there's a lot of moving parts with this. You have wildfire danger, you have high winds.
Yep.
You have a tornado threat, you have a large hail threat, and then you have a damaging wind threat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with forecasting where dry line's going to set up. You have to deal with a cap. There's a whole lot of stuff.
I feel like I'm teaching meteorology 101 right now.
Yes.
I'm trying not to bore the class.
But again, and that goes into it that this is why, when it comes to forecasting, especially in Arkansas, it is not an exact science.
Absolutely.
Arkansas, this is what I say a lot of times is Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Iowa are kind of those transition states between the plains of the West and the southeastern U.S.
Yep.
And it's kind of like we are the transition state where you may get a whole bunch of something or you may get nothing at all.
Yep. To answer your question, Matt, yes, that's the graphic. It's exactly what you're looking at. This is what we're talking about, dry lines. So you have to use dew points to talk about it. So basically, you get your dry air behind it, then you have your warm moisture ahead of it, and then sometimes you have these what we call confluence bands that develop ahead of the dry line. That's when your tornado rate gets even more localized. Fortunately, right now, I'm not seeing that. That's something we won't determine until tomorrow. But basically, what happens is you'll get these little boundaries, and you'll see it on radar, especially like out west. They'll kind of look like little horizontal little bands on radar. Well, they're little confluence bands, and what happens is storm pops up, they pop on those on that boundary, and then go up, and then they start becoming tornadic. I could throw this back to El Reno, 2013. Same thing happened with that. Storm popped on the confluence band, things went up, instantly produced a tornado. We'll have to keep an eye on that tomorrow. That's why I said the environment is going to be capable of producing that significant severe weather. We just don't know who and where and what is going to be the case as we move into tomorrow here. But eastern and northeastern Arkansas looks to be the best shot of seeing it as we move into tomorrow here. I'll take a look just briefly at DHR. I'm starting to notice the trend with the higher moisture. I'll tell you that. But the more we're getting into this, I am starting to see that trend here. So let's see here. So yeah, what a good idea. Maybe y'all should start a class sometime to explain the weather. Yeah, when we have time, probably over the summer or something like that, people will be interested in it. Obviously, we can do something like that. We just try not to bore people. So let me see here. I'm usually following right along with you. For some reason, and I understand, Pam. I'm trying not to make it confusing. I promise you I'm not. Basically, too long, didn't read kind of comment with this would be say weather aware tomorrow.
Yep.
That's pretty much it. That's all you need to know. Just stay weather aware. Any storms that fire, if you're close in proximity to them, they're going to be severe. That's pretty much all you need to know for tomorrow. That's just that's layman's term, straightforward. Just stay weather aware tomorrow.
Also, don't forget to wear clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Wear clothes. Don't
sleep naked.
Out there. Because here's the thing, if you're asleep, something happens. You don't want to.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
This is a PG-13 show, sir.
Okay.
So, but other than that, guys, if y'all have any more questions, stuff like that, let us know. We'll then answer a few more, and then we're gonna hop off here, get ready for tomorrow. We had some questions about the Roku and Fire TV. We are gonna have that up tomorrow. Don't worry about that. When we do have it up tomorrow, it is going to be in what we call severe weather alert day mode. It's going to have your radar, your alerts, all that cool stuff for tomorrow here. So other than that, I'm going to answer a few more.
While we have people on, pay attention to the page Saturday. We have a very awesome announcement coming.
Yeah, very awesome.
About Arkansas Weather Watchers and what is to come. We are very excited about it. I know a lot of our staff already knows, but Cameron and I will make that official announcement on Saturday.
Yep.
If there's not severe weather, if there is severe weather, it'll be Sunday.
Yep.
Let me reiterate that. But yes, so definitely. See, people love it. Don't sleep naked. Don't sleep naked. Don't sleep hungry.
PG-13, sir. PG-13. Okay, I'd rather not get canceled on Facebook.
Okay.
So, Matt's got a good question. How strong is going to be the instability tomorrow or the CAPE? Basically, what CAPE means is convective availability potential energy.
Convective available potential energy.
There we go. I knew I had it logged up here. Basically, what that is I don't want to know. Let me answer this question before I get to that. So basically what that is, that storm fuel, it's going to be a good amount of storm fuel tomorrow, 1,500 to about two grand of joules per kilogram of instability tomorrow, if not higher. Today was ridiculous. It got almost 90 degrees down in South Arkansas, so we'll have to see. So now we got your question out of the way, Matt. What in the world were you laughing about over here? Oh, yeah, and teeth too. I saw.
No, between that one, Donna's comment.
Where's Donna's comment? Oh, yeah, teeth. Teeth and bras.
And then, of course, you have Kimberly's comment, too.
Oh, Lord. So, I don't even want to know.
Hey, you know what?
Hey, look. All right, like I said, we're trying to keep, look. I'm not going to disagree with that comment because it is true, but come on now.
Well, here's the thing, though. Yeah. Now, see, this also what we do. A good way to calm anxiety is to make things a little bit funny, too, and not so serious all the time, right?
Yep, exactly.
And, it's a good thing because here's the thing. In West Arkansas, where you're going to be dealing with wind, you could always hook a kite up to you or a parachute and say, I believe I can fly. Sorry.
Lordy. All right. So
Okay, back to
all right. So, like I said, I'm trying to reduce the confusion as much as possible, folks. The biggest thing is tomorrow. The reason why Harrison is on the timing map is because we don't know where the storms are going to fire. How fast does the dry line move eastward? We're not saying that, oh, hey, Harrison's going to get a severe thunderstorm tomorrow. Okay. But what we're saying is it's time to pay attention. We don't know exactly how far east this dry line is going to move. Obviously, Western Arkansas is a clear. That's a 100% given. Everything we've seen suggests that the dry line will clear through Western Arkansas. But where does it stall? Does it stall out east of Harrison? Does it stall out west? Does it stall over you? We don't know those questions. That's why you're in there as a precaution. So what I would say tomorrow is just kind of keep it weather aware. Regardless if you end up behind the dry line, you will deal with a fire hazard, a fire weather hazard. So keep that in mind for our folks to western and northwestern Arkansas for tomorrow. Okay, so Catherine, if the sun comes out tomorrow, obviously that will help get your environment very, very warm. Your what we call your convective temp will be met, and you get storms. Obviously, I think I think it was Heidi's forecast or our forecast too. I mean, we have low 80s today, and I mean, I think all three of us just
it's almost 90.
Yeah, almost 90.
Places like Crossing, El Dorado, Texarkana.
Don't ever say that. Don't ever say that again.
What?
Don't ever say that. Don't play. Don't play. I know what you just said. It's El Dorado. It is. I'm not. Look, I am not going to protect you from the comments.
El Dorado.
Y'all fact check him in the comments, please.
But anywho, anywho, okay.
Yep.
Again, that being said, places like Crossing, El Dorado, Magnolia, Texarkana, saw those 90s today.
Yeah.
So, or the almost 90 today. So again, and yes, Zach, I agree. I believe I can fly with a kite. Yes, I believe. Yes, definitely.
Lord have mercy, y'all.
See, I bring life. I bring life.
And that's what we do, guys. We're not always 100% serious. We try to lighten the mood up because I don't like talking about tornadoes and not natural disasters and all that all the time. I like to live life without having all that anxiety. So we try to make it at least a little fun when we talk about severe weather. But obviously, the biggest thing is make sure y'all stay weather aware for tomorrow. Yeah, Kier, I agree. Yeah, put some respect on El Dorado's name. I've already told him I'm not going to protect him. Like, look, that's on him. So I got a good question from Caleb here. Now, I don't know how to answer this. This is a very tricky question for tomorrow here. Okay, I don't want you letting your guard down if I say no, and I don't want you freaking out if I say yes. I think it's a combination of just a neutral. Be prepared just in case. Because what's going to happen tomorrow, like we mentioned before, we don't know where storms are going to fire.
Yep.
Where the storms fire is where you're going to have that potential. So that's...
I've seen this
where,
so basically I've seen this.
Yeah. Also, one more thing before you get to that. You're good, brother. I promise you, I was not upset. I was just trying to explain the timing map because it's so tricky. When you're trying to forecast a dry line, it's either it pushes east of your area. I'll be honest with you, I don't know, because if you end up on the other side of the dry line, you're going to have a fire threat. You end up on the east side of the dry line, you're going to have a severe threat. So you kind of just want to be right in the middle for tomorrow. But yeah, go ahead.
So, brain fart.
You were talking about the
brain fart.
We were talking about because that comment.
So basically, the thing is, it can be a situation where, and something we're going to have to watch closely, is I've seen situations like this where storms fire on the dry line 100 miles west of the forecast. They have formed and put tornado warnings down in a 0% risk. So it's kind of one of those things to where, it's going to all depend upon where that dry line sets up, how far east it goes, how far west it goes, how sharp is it?
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of moving parts with this as we go into, the day tomorrow. Now, again, obviously, you may have, there's, like I said, there's still some guys that show no storms at all. There's some guys that show a lot of storms. So it's going to be strictly dependent upon that cap breaking tomorrow.
I tell you what, your environment tomorrow, per the HR is just absolutely ridiculous. Like if we get away tomorrow without seeing any storms, it's going to be an absolute blessing. Because your environment is definitely there to support severe weather, significant severe weather. It's just what storm prediction going to do. They're going to keep the enhanced risk. They're going to keep the moderate because of a precaution. That's all they're going to do. It's not. They're not going to care about where storms fire, who sees what. They're going to be like, hey, there's a risk. Yep. We're not going to chance it. We're going to keep this risk here. And if it busts, it busts. It doesn't, it doesn't. But that's what they do. They try to do it and try to be precaution with it because it's like you don't know. You're taking a chance here if it is either going to produce or it's not going to do anything at all. As we move into tomorrow.
Yep. And the biggest thing is to remember is that thing is if you are a model watcher, weather enthusiast, stuff like that, don't necessarily pay attention to your short range guidance right now.
Oh, Florida.
Because right now it's not going to really depict this drought line. So you won't really notice until tomorrow. Yep. Because again, we've seen this time and time again in plain setup, to where your short range guidance doesn't really depict the drought line setups until the last 3 to 5 hours before the event. So by noon tomorrow,
we'll know.
It's going to be a lot different than what it is right now. Yeah. I would put bets on that.
Yep. So a couple more questions here, and I think we're going to hop off and get ready for tomorrow. For us in Mount Home, we're not a higher chance. Okay, so like I mentioned before, folks, don't focus on, when we're going to get storms tomorrow because they're going to be so hit and miss. What I want you guys to do tonight, go over your severe weather plans. Go over what to do if there's a tornado warning, okay? What you want to do whenever there's a tornado warning is get to that lowest center part of your home, away from the windows, away from the outside walls. That's what you want to do. That's one thing you want to focus on. Don't worry about northwest or southwest corners, all that. Don't worry about all that. Just get to the center part of your home. That's what I want you guys to review tonight. It's quiet. It's time. It's the best time to do it. Should have probably done it a couple of days ago, but obviously, weather changes, the risk is going to change, stuff like that. So tonight's a really good night to do that. But I want to stress right now, folks, don't focus on those maps. I don't know who shared it. It's probably going around like crazy on social media. Those maps that you're seeing, yes, the environment is there, and I will not disagree with the environment capable of producing those significant tornadoes. Your question tomorrow is if you get storms to fire, okay? Those colorful maps are there to drive anxiety up in a state that has already been through enough. You had 2023, you had the active event last spring, you had the supercell that went through North Arkansas. We've been through enough. Last thing we need is somebody on social media posting these colorful maps and just freaking everybody out. The awareness needs to be there tomorrow, and you should go over your severe weather plans. Don't get me wrong, but tomorrow is going to be a who gets it and who don't. Yep. So that's how it's going to be tomorrow here, guys. Not every single person in Arkansas is going to see tornadoes tomorrow. Not even every single person in Arkansas is going to see rain tomorrow. That's how it is. But we want you guys to be better safe than sorry. That's the best way I can put it. Better safe than sorry. As we move into tomorrow here, guys. Okay, so Nicole, thank you so much for tuning in. We're fixing to hop off here ourselves. We're just kind of giving you guys a little bit of what to expect. This graphic is going to be on the page, by the way, so you don't have to worry about that. But go ahead.
Yep. So basically, kind of like the seriousness of the event. If you see just him or just me, it's not going to be that big of a deal. You see both of us, it's kind of like that scenario where somebody said
James Payne.
If it was last year. No, I'm talking about us. Like, last year.
Yeah.
They said, oh Lord, if we see Cameron or Derek, we know it's going to be fine. If we see both of them on there at the same time, you better start paying attention. If you see Derek, Cameron, Chandler, Dustin, Heidi, all of them, y'all better may as well go on and go to the bump.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm considering. We will have full team coverage, all day tomorrow, all night tomorrow night.
Yep. And those guys work behind the scenes too. Even though they're not always on here, they're moderating, they're doing the forecast stuff, and everything like that. So.
Yep. We will have children in the field. We will have. We're going to have full coverage across the board tomorrow to keep you weather aware on the ground, in the sky, on radar. Wherever storms form tomorrow, we'll be here ready to go.
Yep. So Jessica's I'm gonna get to this one last question, and that's gonna be it. What would happen if the temperature's if the temperature's hot? Would that feed the severe threat, bring it down? Well, what happens is I'll make this simple. Whenever you deal with severe weather threat, there's a thing called convective temperatures. Okay, so basically that is how high you can get. That high you need to get, to break the lid in place to allow what's called the parcels to be lifted into the atmosphere, which generates thunderstorms, blah, blah, blah. So let's say tomorrow, based off what I've seen with all the soundings, let's say your convective temp is about 77 tomorrow. Let's say we repeat what we did today and you get to 87. Well, that cap's gone. That cap is obliterated. And then you start getting storms, and then we have a completely different ball game. So that's a really good question. We need to pay attention to how much sunshine we get tomorrow. We need to pay attention to how warm we get tomorrow. Today was very concerning. We had temperatures in the mid to upper 70s today, and we busted bad. You had temperatures near 90 degrees in South Arkansas today. So you got to pay attention to stuff like that throughout the day tomorrow here. And we will keep you guys updated on that. We're going to have 24/7 on YouTube. We're going to have Roku and Fire TV back up. We're going to have frequent updates on the page, so you don't have to worry about all that. But yeah, that's really good. That was a really good question here. So other than that, Derek, unless you got something else you need to get out, I think that's it.
Shout out to all of our sponsors, especially I got a feeling Nick over at Wisdom and Moreland is going to be busy over the next couple of weeks.
Yep.
Obviously Patrick at Farmers Insurance, is going to be busy as well. And then, of course, obviously, we can't thank enough Fire Techs and Arkansas Ankle Monitor, for this amazing studio that we have now. Mm-hmm. Just to name a few, obviously, our folks at Severe RV for keeping our Roku channel up and going on a regular basis. But I know for myself, for Cameron, we will be here all day tomorrow.
Yep.
Keep everything updated. We'll be here all night tomorrow night.
Yep.
And we'll be here Saturday if we need to. But biggest thing is stay weather ready, and we will keep you updated right here on your source
for all things Arkansas weather.